All right, guys, in this video, I'm really excited to show you a new platform that allows you to build software with AI, but in a completely different way than all these other platforms. This platform is a bit unique with the approach, and I'm excited to talk about it in this video, and that has to do with the fact that it has a reasoning agent that helps you all the way through building your projects. Another thing that's really interesting is it actually understands what you're trying to build, and it will create a step-by-step and very detailed plan on how you could actually build this out. So if you're building a bit more complex apps, maybe this platform is what you've been looking for in order to use an AI agent to assist you. So I'm inside of Databutton, and if you've seen my previous videos about Databutton, this user interface looks a bit different, and that is because they have made some updates, and that is why I actually want to showcase it in this video, because I think a lot of you could get some value out of actually using this platform. So first of all, let's turn your ideas into exceptional software. What are we building? So first of all, we need to describe our app, what it does, and who it's for. Okay, so here's what I'm trying to build. I'm building a YouTube thumbnail and a title testing app. This app will let you upload a thumbnail and title in order for you to test out what it will look like when it is uploaded to YouTube. This is for content creators who want to make sure their title and thumbnails are appealing to viewers before actually publishing their videos. So we're basically writing out who it's for and what we want to include, as well as you could see if we go over to continue, we can see we could upload documents about our app. So whether that's, requirements, references, designs, quotes, or whatnot. I'm going to go ahead and continue without doing that. However, I'm going to share some inspiration. So I'm going to actually take a screenshot of this app here that I use that I'm trying to replicate using Databutton. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag and drop this here. I'm going to explain this more in this video, why I think Databutton, like these new features, are very, very interesting and helpful, because it's asking us all of these questions before we even build our app. Like for instance, now I'm on to integrations. So what integrations does your app need? Basically, we can choose authentication, databases, payments, all of this stuff, and get this basically planned out before we even begin building our app. And then it reverse engineers and builds based on exactly what we're trying to build. Instead of just typing in what we want to build and going on as we build this out, things could get a bit confusing. This actually really makes it really simple and structured to actually build our apps. I'm going to go ahead and use Firebase authentication for the auth because there's a native integration. I'm going to use Firestore as well, but we could use Supabase databases or Supabase authentication. I'm also going to use Stripe. We could use Lemon Squeezy if we'd like, but I'm just basically indicating that I want to use Stripe later on when I'm building my app. And then I'm going to use Firestore. We could use Supabase, we could use AWS or Google Cloud Storage. So let's go ahead and start. And what it is doing now is actually writing the MVP scope. So you could see it's saying, hang on while I craft a plan for building a first version. I'm taking the information you've provided and turning it into a plan we can follow to build an MVP users will love. So this is building a plan, whereas other platforms might not give a roadmap of what we're trying to build. So I like how it collects this information before we even start, and then we'll create a guided plan for us to follow in order to make this as simple as possible building our app. Okay, so here's where things get interesting, and this is why I wanted to make a video on this platform, and I think it's actually really helpful. So now we have a plan to actually build Thumbnail Pro, and we could actually go ahead and discuss the plan. But first of all, let's go ahead and see the to-do list. So we could basically, what our AI agent inside of Databutton did is it created a to-do list, and the first on the to-do list is create a landing page that showcases the app's value proposition. We could set up Firebase authentication and user profiles, build the thumbnail, upload the title input and preview system, create the preview page with multiple device views, add basic analytics and feedback system. So in order for me to test this out, why don't I just go ahead and discuss the plan and just say, okay, so basically I'm saying let's remove this one right here because we just don't necessarily need it. But for any of these, we could make any tweaks that we would like before actually building our app. So it's important to dial in what we're trying to build and kind of having our plan set in stone and kind of perfect for us. All right, there we go. It actually removed that step in our plan here. Okay, so now that I actually removed that, we could go ahead and start on any of these tasks that we would like. So first of all, let's go ahead and just create a landing page that showcases the app's value proposition. So I'm going to click on start task, and now it's actually going to add that instead of being in our to-do list, it's actually now in the in progress tab here. So this is great for being able to track the progress of our apps. It's almost like kind of acting as if it's a project manager or something, as opposed to just typing out what we're trying to build and just kind of freeballing it, if that makes any sense. All right, so one thing I want to mention is Databutton is really good at chain of thought reasoning. reasoning. So it actually thinks as if it's like a reasoning model, large language model. So you can see if I come up and click on the thought for a minute or thought for a moment tab, you can see there's different observations. So task number 1 is now in progress and assigned to me. We need to create a landing page in app.tsx, key requirements, light theme, plan. So it's even setting a plan for this singular task here. And it's also defining the next steps. So it is thinking through this meticulously, whereas, you know, other platforms maybe just like listen to what you want to say and then just go and build it without kind of thinking through it. So that is one of the really cool features inside of Databutton and their new kind of V2 that they're actually releasing. So this is really cool, guys. I want to see what this is going to look like. All right, so it looks like that first landing page has now been created. So I could just simply come over to preview and you can see we have a very basic landing page here now. So I could click on start testing and there's actually no page there added yet. However, I could come back to the plan and then go ahead and actually add that. Okay, so let's go ahead and just like tell it we want to change up the coloring. We want to make it a little bit more dynamic than just white and black text. So, okay, so I basically said maybe add some colors to make it fit the theme of YouTube. So let's just go ahead and see how it could handle small tasks like that. All right, so it looks like it's still finishing this up right here in the chat, but this looks great. So added some little hints of red, just like I said, for YouTube. So this looks good. Let's go ahead and move on down our plan in order to create this app. So I'm going to come back over to plan. This looks great. I'm actually going to mark this as done. And now we could move down our to-do list. Let's go ahead and build the thumbnail upload and preview interface. Either we can make a comment on this to change this a little bit, or we could go ahead and just, you know, start the task. You can see the description is to create a drag and drop interface for YouTube thumbnails with Firebase Store integration. So I love how it breaks down each of these little individual tasks and kind of explains in depth how it needs to be created based on the plan we initially set when trying to build our app. Okay, so if we come over to the chat, I know I'm not focusing too much on exactly how it's reasoning, but like this goes a little bit over, you know, my head and other people's heads because all we're seeing is the output of what it's creating, but we don't see what's going on in the back end, and that is where things actually get interesting. So you could see it researched, basically it thought about what I said. So let's work on this new task. It made some observations, it made a plan, it made a next step, and then it even researched YouTube's thumbnail specifications to ensure we match their requirements. Then it thought for a second again, so got the YouTube thumbnail specifications, need to check if Firebase is installed. Then it created a plan. So you got to think about it. It's creating, it's researching, coming up with an observation, coming up with a plan, and then coming up with the next steps. And it's doing this multiple times on each step of us trying to build this out. So now it actually looks like it's creating the thumbnail upload page with proper validation. So one thing I want to mention is if you are used to using a platform like Lovable or Bolt, they might be a bit faster, you know, going from prompt to actually getting an output. But the reason that this takes a bit longer is because it's actually reasoning on the back end, but that in effect will like basically help you build better apps essentially because it takes more time to think through these things and it's a bit more meticulous in that regard. Okay, so looks like now if we come over to preview, there is a new page here. So if I click on thumbnail upload, we can now upload our thumbnail. Let's go ahead and test this out and see how this works. Okay, so we can now upload a thumbnail. However, we need to actually add the ability for us to add a title. So that's looking good. Would you like to test it out and let me know if you'd like, once you're happy with it? Okay, so I could either chat with this or I could go back to the plan and then go down that checklist. But let's just say looks good. Now let's add a title so it appears just as it would on YouTube when it is published. It needs to look exactly like it does on YouTube with the correct mentions and layout. All right, so let's go ahead. Let's grab this title, this thumbnail here, and then let's just say this AI. All right, there we go. So now it's actually showing the desktop preview along with the mobile preview. So that's good. Let's go ahead. Let's go back to the plan here, and then we go ahead. We could just check this off. And then now I'm not going to build this app out perfectly like I would in a previous video. I just want to show the functionality of Databutton. That's the main point. Like I want you to see how it actually thinks through these things, how it actually, you know, sets out a plan for you and how you can work through that plan. So next up, what we're going to do is let's go ahead and set up our Firebase authentication and user profiles so people could actually sign into an account, use our platform. So you can see when we click start testing now, we want users to be able to sign in, and then it will then route them to be able to sign up via our sign in method. All right, so it's actually going, so it actually gave me this in order to set up my Firebase. So one thing I want to mention is if you use another platform that has a simple integration with something like Supabase, this might be a little bit more difficult. I want to be transparent with that, but it really should not be that difficult. It's just not as simple as clicking a button and having it set up and good to go. So your Firebase configuration. So I'm going to go to Firebase console. I think what I need to do is I need to create a project here. Let's call this Databutton. Continue, select an account. Here we are. All right, so I'm going to click on build here. I'm going to come to authentication. I'm going to come over to project view, project settings. And here we go. I have my Firebase config here. So I'm just going to copy and paste this. I'm going to delete this. Okay, there we go. That should be good to go. And then now I need to add these authorized domains. So I'm just going to click on this. Should bring me directly there. I need to get started with authentication. I'm going to add email so users can actually sign up with email. So let's save that. Then I need to come into settings right here, go to authorized domains, and I need to add a couple of these domains. So this is simple enough to do, guys. It walks you through exactly how to do it. Add that domain there. I'm going to install the Firebase extension. And now it actually looks like it's setting this up for me inside of Databutton with the information from Firebase. Boom, there we go. You've secured your app with Firebase authentication. Users can now sign in safely and securely. Okay, one thing I want to mention, guys, is this really does act like an AI agent as opposed to kind of some of these other platforms maybe, because I actually gave it this prompt to install the Firebase and set it up 3 minutes ago. It's still working on this because it thought for a moment. You could see all of these observations, the plan, and the next steps. And then it actually completed that research. It thought for a moment again. It wrote the code writing failed. It thought for a moment again. It wrote the code again. It changed what it needed to change. And it's almost like fixing these bugs itself with me even having to like be in the loop and do this. It's literally walking through these steps and going through these different errors it's running into without me having to touch it. So it really does act almost as if it's a real AI agent kind of handling these tasks autonomously, which is really cool to see, especially when you could look in this panel here and see everything that it's actually thinking through. All right, so now I could actually sign out. Let me go ahead, let's restart that. All right, so I could come over to the sign in page. I actually created an account already, so I could sign in with Google. So there we go. We now have access to this. We could also then go ahead and add a Stripe payment as well. So maybe I'll go ahead and do that here shortly in this video. We could now go over to the actual thumbnail upload page. Let me go ahead and let's actually move forward with our plan and see if there's any of these that we need to tackle. If not, I could also just come to our agent here and just basically type out what we're trying to build. So, all right, let's go ahead and create the preview page with multiple device views. So let's click on this and I'm actually going to add a comment because I'm going to look at the description. All right, so I'm also going to mention, let's showcase it as if it were the actual. All right, so basically I went ahead and said, let's showcase it as if it was the actual YouTube feed, add fake videos to show how it will look on YouTube, because we actually want to compare this to other YouTube titles and thumbnails. That's the point of the app. So I'm going to go ahead. It's moving on to this now. You can see it's thinking through this. It's making some observations. It's creating a plan based on those observations, and then it is creating the next steps. So looks like it's going to write the code for that. Let's visit this when it's finished. All right, here we go. So we now have a YouTube feed. This looks pretty cool. We have a desktop, we have a tablet, and we have a mobile feed. That all honestly looks great. However, what I want to do is I want to actually connect these two pages. So I want to merge the thumbnail upload and the preview page. So come over here and let's just say I want to. All right, so I gave it this little prompt here. It's going to go ahead, reason through this, figure out the best way to tackle that, and then let's give it a second for it to kind of merge these together. All right, here we go. So this should be good to go now. We should be able to upload this and then it will show YouTube feed there. Okay, great. So this is cool. This is all on one page now. This is looking great. Super simple. I don't want to make too many more edits here. Just obviously I mentioned that I wasn't going to do a full app build on this video. I just want to showcase Databutton and how it actually works with kind of this reasoning that it actually goes through over here in the chat, as well as the planning out that it does. So I could actually go ahead and mark these as done. So I then need to do these. I need to implement the title input, blah, blah, blah. I could either go ahead, I could delete this in the to-do list, and I could go ahead and set up Stripe as well. There we have it, guys. That is Databutton and their new updates. This is pretty cool. I'm glad I was able to revisit this platform. I think this could be really valuable for certain specific people. Honestly, I'm going to be transparent. It's not the cheapest platform to use. So if you're looking for cheap and you want to play around with building out an app just for fun, this might not be the platform to use. But if you have an idea for an app and you want help building it out, this platform is really good at laying out the foundation and reverse engineering from what your actual plan is to build, and then helping you complete all those steps. Because all these text to web application builders, they're great for building basic things, but not for super, super complex apps. So this might be a good alternative if you are looking to build something a bit bigger, a bit more complex, and you have a little bit more budget. So I'm happy I could cover this in this video, guys. If you guys enjoyed this video, please make sure to let me know. You can sign up for Databutton. There's a link in the description. I'll see you guys in the next video.